Welcome back to the Decidedly Local podcast. I'm Jeremy Evans, and today I want to start out with the story. In June 2024, the town board passed resolution number 8 of 2024. This is the Town of Harriet's Town Board. I'm going to read it. It's really short. Whereas Trudeau Road from County Route 86 to the Essex County line at property location 150 Trudeau Road, tax map 23.3-2-1.00 is located within the town of Harrietstown and the county of Franklin. And whereas Trudeau Road currently has a 35 mile per hour speed limit on the entirety of the road. Whereas the town of Harrietstown is requesting that the New York State Department of Transportation and the Franklin County DPW reduce the speed of said road from 35 miles an hour to 30 miles an hour. Therefore, be it resolved that the town board supports the lowering of the speed limit from 35 to 30 miles per hour on Trudeau Road. And this resolution was unanimously passed by the entire town board present. I was not present, but I would have enthusiastically supported it. That was in June of 2024. Fast forward to September 9th, 2025, when the town board received a letter from, it was actually addressed to the Franklin County Department of Highways. So it wasn't even addressed to the town board. Town was carbon copied on the letter of response from the New York State Department of Transportation. And I'm going to read this letter. Superintendent Adams, Edward Adams is the superintendent of highways for Franklin County DPW. The New York State Department of Transportation has completed the investigation regarding the request for a further reduction of the existing 35 mile per hour speed zone on Trudeau Road and County Route 20 in the towns of Harrietstown and St. Armand. Most posted speed limits, both in New York State and nationally, are based on the results of an engineering study. As part of this study, New York State DOT performed a review of several factors, including, but not limited to, the roadway environment and characteristics, the 3-year crash history, and speed distribution data obtained from 5 laser speed surveys. Based on the results of the study, no change to the existing 35 mile per hour speed limit is warranted at this time. The New York State DOT also consulted with the Troop B traffic sergeant of the New York State Police. It is suggested that the town of Harrietstown and the county of Essex review the condition and visibility of the existing signage along Trudeau Road and also determine if any signs need updating to current standards. Thank you for bringing your concerns to the New York State DOT's attention. If you have any questions regarding this determination, please contact an engineer at Region 7 of New York State DOT. So that's the story. The town board, after receiving some suggestions, complaints, requests that something to be done about speeding on Trudeau Road, made a request to DOT to reduce the speed limit from 35 miles an hour to 30. And it certainly wasn't because the town board feels that reducing the speed limit by 5 miles an hour solve all speeding that's happening on Trudeau Road. But it was seen as a good first step because, after all, some people respond to speed limit signs. Not everybody, right? But some people do. If nobody responded to a speed limit sign, there wouldn't be any point in having them up on a road to begin with. So even though they're not the end-all be-all, they will affect some behavior. So it seemed like an easy, quick first thing for the town board to consider. Well, it took more than a year for it to go from Franklin County Department of Highways to New York State DOT and then back to get a response on whether or not the town, and mind you, this is not a state highway or a county highway. This is a town road, and the town had to make a request to the county and to New York State Department of Transportation to get permission to lower a speed limit on its own road. And that permission was denied. Now, we are in a home rule state. Everywhere you go, politicians at the local and state level talk about how New York State home rule is so sacrosanct and so amazing, and how towns and villages and cities are given all these rights and powers for self-determination. Yet in this case, the town, we had to ask and got denied to reduce the speed limit. Now, if you look at New York State DOT's traffic data, the average speed on Trudeau Road, where they've done a traffic count back in 2019, was 37 miles per hour. If the average speed is 37 miles an hour, that means some people are going about that speed, some people are going lower, and some people are obviously going higher. And so there's no question that there are people traveling very fast on that road. We don't know how many, but it's enough that the average speed is higher than the posted speed limit. So why wouldn't DOT allow the town to reduce the speed limit? Well, one of the reasons is that they don't even look at average speed when they're trying to determine what speed limit a road should have. They look at something that's called the 85th percentile speed, which is what's the speed that 85 out of 100 drivers are going at or below. And then that means a minority, or 15 out of 100, are going faster than that speed limit. It's another way of looking at it is, what speed are most normal drivers choosing to go on this road? They use it, and it's actually I actually like why they use it. They use it because it reflects how fast people feel comfortable driving, regardless of what the speed limit is, and based more on how the road is designed. And so when you look at this situation, I actually think DOT feels that the speed limit should actually be probably posted at 40 or 45, because that's probably what the 85th percentile data tells them. Now, this just seems completely crazy, and so I guess we should be happy that the speed limit has already been reduced to 35 miles an hour, and they talk about that in the letter. They talk about a further reduction. And so they're not in favor of a further reduction because from their viewpoint, a speed limit sign, a reduction only does so much. So what do we do about that? Well, I shouldn't say obvious. One of the things that the town could do is to make physical changes to the road that really help people that want to that make people want to slow down. But this requires design and engineering and construction and physical changes to the road. Now, there are ways to do simple things, but the whole idea of asking to do the speed reduction was that it's simple, quick, and easy. What else could be done? I think the other thing that should be done is, because it's easy to complain about these things, but let's talk about solutions. Well, villages in New York State for a long time were subject to the same problem that the state had to approve reductions in speed limits. But now villages have that right based on legislation that passed several years ago. So the village of Saranac Lake, for example, could decide to reduce speed limits in the village down to 25 miles per hour, and they don't need to ask for permission anymore. Why on earth villages and I believe cities have that right, but towns don't, is beyond me. But fortunately, there is legislation that's been introduced at the state level that would give towns the same ability to have more control over determining speed limits on their own town roads. And I would love for that to happen. In fact, when this letter came back and we had this quick discussion about it at the town board level, that was my reaction, is we just need to wait for that legislation to pass, because trying to argue with DOT about this would be a moot point, since I'm guessing they already believe the speed limit is too low. It's all very frustrating. Now, just one caveat. A lot of the folks that I interact just about everybody who I interact with at different state agencies, including the Department of Transportation, are very skilled, competent people who find their job worthwhile and rewarding and are doing good work. Working with rules, laws, and standards that I think in many cases are broken or outdated. And that's what we have here. I'm not blaming any of the folks who at DOT who looked at this and responded the way they do. I think I'll talk about that in more detail at a future episode, but this is not about them. This is about the overall structure that gives us this kind of poor result where we had to wait for 1 year and 3 months to even get a response from DOT about reducing the speed limit on our own town road, not a state highway. That's what it's about. All right. That's it for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it useful. Got a lot more topics like this that we're going to explore in future episodes. We'll see you next time.